What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy 8-Bit79, and in this one we're here to talk to you about the Wastelanders themed update featuring my man Bullseye, Hawkeye, the seasonal uniform for Gambit, and the seasonal Christmas uniform for Sharon Rogers. Let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so like I said, we got the uniforms for Hawkeye, Bullseye, Gambit with tier 4s in tow. We're also getting Sector 14 dispatch mission, which is actually dope. We'll talk more about that later. Let's go ahead and jump into the uniforms. So for my man, old man Hawkeye with the Wastelanders uniform coming in at 1050, you do see that he does still have the chain hit. They increased it by 5%. He still has the same guard break immunity. He still has the same increased crit damage over the cap with the same cooldown. So a lot of copy paste, some slight stat tweaking going on with this uniform on paper at least. For the tier 2 passive, looks like he has the same exact thing going on, 30%, and then 35-30 on the skill damage, bonus damage.
You trying to make me look stupid in front of the other guests? Don't need any help from me, sir. That's right.
Guaranteed dodge and the increased crit damage respectively, which in this day and age, crit damage, crit rate, if you have crafted cards, really doesn't mean much. The guaranteed critical rate does, and the guaranteed dodge rate does to trigger your CTPs more frequent, but the rest of the stuff, not really. For the 4-star passive, you got same old, increased guaranteed critical rate by 35%, still has that in the old uniform. The increased dodge rate by 40%. He also has the 50% chance to penetrate everything. They did start switching it up slightly with the skills, a little bit, but not by much. With the first skill, he still has the same bleed effect. With the second skill, they added some burn and they tweaked the skill cooldown a little bit with the third skill. He still has the same iframe ignore, but they switched it to a V-pad and took the counterattack away. I think the V-pad may be more useful just to get out of the way of something instead of having to rely on the timing of the counterattack. And then they buffed the heal by 20%. They did switch it around and give him some shock that wasn't there before. And they took the bleed away. With the 4, looks like they added some chill, some poison, and some freeze that wasn't there before. He retains the other skills that were the burn, the paralysis, the stun, so nothing new there really. Same 80% damage proc, nothing really changing. And then on the 5th skill, he still has the same 5 seconds of invincibility. The skill cooldown times have changed a little bit by going down by 1 second on the 5, went down by, or it was exact same on the 4, exact same on the 3, and then for the 2 it got cut a little bit. For the 1 it increased a little bit, so nothing really new.
Damn! Y'all ain't never got two things that match.
Going on for my guy Hawkeye, the big difference is gonna be with his hit count, because if you notice right here, the combo for him is 5 delay cancel, 3 delay cancel, 4, and those delays are so long. Now there aren't any hits, so you can time it with a proc if you're really precise, but it takes a lot of work.
That's Latin, darling. Evidently, Mr. Ringo's an educated man. Now I really hate him.
For that. So that coupled with the fact that he never got a tier 4 when he got this uniform for the Hawkeye Kate Bishop thing, Disney Plus series, I think held him back a lot. Then when you have 5 delay, you see the hits always aren't necessarily the same if the timing isn't just right. If you delay the 5th instantly, yes, the giant arrows drop down, but you lose a few hits in the process. If you cancel the 3 too early, the arrow doesn't go off and you lose about 20 hits in the process. And even still, you only max out on one target at about 74, 75 hits maybe, and then you can get up around 100, 120 if you incorporate the tier 3. With the new uniform, you're getting 100, 150 hit on a basic combo. So I think the real testament to Hawkeye's uniform is really gonna be the amount of hits that are gonna be the difference in between his old uniform and this new uniform is what's really gonna take him over the top. I mean, you're talking about doubling the amount of sheer hits that he does. We all know how that is really effective for ABX ABL. And then on top of that, we have possible new ABX ABL restrictions coming. And quite seriously, one of the best examples I can think of is you take this suck-ass Wolverine uniform right here, right? The brown suit. Now the 5th skill on this for a single target only hits for about 47 hits. That pales in comparison to the amount of hits that he's doing in his latest uniform, or even the X of Death's uniform, right? This one he's up to 68 hits. The X of Death's uniform I think is about the same, 68 hits, close to 70 hits, and that's off of one skill. Hawkeye isn't doing this with his full rotation. So we've seen before, and yes, I know we're talking PvE versus PvP, but we've seen before we're increasing the hit count and drastically alter a character's damage output both in PvE and in PvP. Next up, Bullseye. Now the major part with this uniform here is there was not a heal nowhere to be found in this thing whatsoever, not on a passive, not on an active skill, not on a uniform passive. So one of the main things that they did do to help my guy Bullseye out was they actually gave my guy a heal. Down here on the 4th skill of 30% that he can cast every 8 seconds, which is much better than what he used to have. Yes, it's not top-notch healing, but at least it's something, and it's not a paltry 20 or 25% heal. As far as the uniform passive, they also came through with my guy there. They increased the all attack by 10%, and then they gave him some critical damage along with some increased chain hit by 15%. For the tier 2 passive, they actually changed it as well. They gave him some increased guaranteed critical rate added on top of the ignore target dodge rate and skill damage bonus damage that he already had, and they increased the skill damage and bonus damage. The bonus damage actually got a pretty good bump from 15% to 45, and then the skill damage got a 10% increase. The 4-star passive is same old, so nothing new under the sun. As far as Bullseye's first skill, they did give him some silence instead of the stun. For the second skill, they gave this guy incapacitation, which he didn't have before, and some paralysis that was there before. So for the third skill, he has some burn and stun. Used to be chill and freeze, and then they changed the frenzy buff. They actually took away the critical rate and the all defense buff. Now it's just all attack of 40% instead of the 35 that he had before. For the 4th skill, they actually buffed it and moved that chance that he had on the 2nd skill of 100% miss to the 4th skill, and I think they increased the time a little bit. Nope, same exact time. So they pretty much just copied and pasted and shuffled with this guy, just like the cards that my guy Gambit is holding in all pockets and hands. And then there's a 30% heal that we talked about earlier, along with some invincibility that he didn't have before, along with 100% damage proc. So at least a little something new for my guy Bullseye. And then for the 5th skill, the burn, the stun, the all defense down, all still there, all still the same amount of time. Skill cooldowns are a little bit different, and then they gave him the frenzy buff that they took away from the 4th skill. They moved it to the 5th and increased the all attack and all defense by 10%, so not bad. They did increase the skill cooldown time by 2 seconds pretty much across the board for the 3, the 4, and the 5, from 16 to 18 and then from 14 to 16 respectively. Pretty substantial bumps there for my guys. Skill cooldown time, they may have to go back and address that at a later date. Now, the elephant in the room. Now, in the live stream, they did make it look as if the uniforms for Sharon Rogers and Gambit were both 40% off. So yeah, the fact that they put this right here, both for Sharon and Gambit's uniform being 40% off.
Am I the fucking hamburglar?
Yeah, so the fact that they put this here with both Gambit and Sharon's uniform both being offered as 40% off in the live stream, and then you turn around here in the patch notes and they basically say the discount event will not be applied. Crystal purchase method, you know, it's basically the same thing. It applies to Gambit X-Men uniform, right? So I guess Sharon wouldn't apply at all because she's the token character. So yeah, really sucks.
I told you, when you're in the system, they switch the flip and you're done.
But what are you gonna do? They gotta do better. It is what it is. As far as her uniform passive, they did add the increase basic damage dealt to boss types. The 25% chain hit and 40% decreased basic damage received was already there. And just so you guys know, this for Sharon Rogers and her old uniform has been a running theme for a while now. If you look at this uniform, like I said, 2540, you come to the Starlight or the Light Sirius armor, you got 2510 on the same exact stat, you got 2010 on the same exact stat, you got 1010 on the same exact stat. You have to go all the way back to Sharon's first uniform for it to be an actual change to her uniform bonus. So when we say not really nothing new under the sun, this is exactly what we're talking about here.
You gonna learn today. We gotta do the Bible here. Well, all right. Shut up, bitch.
I really wish they would do something different as far as Sharon is concerned and a lot of these other characters, in mixing it up and maybe putting them in content that we haven't really seen them in before, and maybe shuffle the meta that way and make the game fresh again. Her tier 2 passive, she's rocking the same exact thing as before. No increase as far as stats are concerned. As far as her fortification passive, also same exact thing. 20% ignore defense, 30% increase all basic defenses, and the super armor, and then the skill damage, bonus damage, ignore target dodge rate, and guaranteed crit, all there. With her first skill, they did give her fracture that wasn't there before, so pretty cool. Stun, she kind of retains. She did lose the V-pad on the second skill, but she did gain some incapacitation that wasn't there before. As far as the third skill is concerned, she still keeps the damage accumulation, although it is damage received, so not really going to be ABX, ABL meta, I don't think, but still probably going to be a world boss killer. She may excel in the new zombie game mode as well. It just depends, but a lot of her skill animations look to be copy paste as well, so I pretty much see her as a single target damage dealer in that regard. So she really is not going to have the AoE that she needs to deal with the mobs effectively in a lot of other game modes like ABX, ABL, zombies, and the like. They did give her a lot of chill that wasn't there before. I really wish they'd have switched to the cold damage. That would have been something new. Maybe some kind of different way that we could use her. As far as the fourth skill is concerned, Still looking like the proc skill. They gave her some freeze and some silence on there as well. And then as far as the 5th skill is concerned, looks to be the same. Still has the heal on it, 35%. And they did remove the critical rate buff for 8 seconds. So we'll just have to wait and see. As far as my guy Gambit is concerned, it looks like they actually handled their damn business with my dude. This looks to be the uniform to pick up. And if it's anything like the seasonal that we got last year.
You know how long I've been waiting for this? Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
I believe with Rogue, but they gave my guy 30% increase of energy attack. They gave him some ignore target dodge rate and some decreased basic damage received. So completely new uniform effect for this guy. He had when activation rate card storm was used. So whenever he used his 5th skill, basically he would get a 15% heal. Gone is that. They put his heal on an active skill. So absolutely dope. For his Royal Flush passive, it looks like they did keep it exactly the same, but it is a really good passive with 20% chain hit, 30% guaranteed critical rate, and 45 on the skill damage bonus damage, which actually goes up from 32% and 15%. So that is a huge jump. With the 4-star passive, looks like he just retains the critical damage, but they did at least bump it up by 5%. So something else good there. They did remove the has the chance to counterattack on the 1st skill, which I'm really not mad at because it wasn't like it was a sniper type counterattack skill like Adam's 2nd or something like that, but they did replace it with a V-pad skill. So absolutely dope. As far as the 2nd skill is concerned, he did lose the stun and the fracture, but he retained the paralysis, and then he got 10% chance to penetrate everything for 7 seconds. I know 10% is kind of low, but at least he has it. May give you an opportunity to use something like a CTP of destruction. I don't know. Then as far as the 3rd skill is concerned, he still has the barrier, and they did switch the burn and snare for fear and paralysis. He lost a 30% all attack buff, but he gained damage accumulation, which he never had before, and he got it at 1% for 7 seconds on a 13-second cooldown, which basically means he can keep this up all the time. So absolutely dope. As far as his 4th skill is concerned, my guy actually got a lot. He retained the fracture. He got the 30% healed instead of that 15% that he had before from the uniform passive. And then he also got the 50% attack buff with the 100% chance for all damage immunity, which he didn't have there before. So survivability for Gambit about to go through the roof. And then for the 5th skill, he actually retains the V-pad, and he also has some silence in there that I don't think he had before. No, he didn't. He had stun, fear, incapacitation, paralysis, and all defense down. Now he gets silence, incapacitation, and paralysis. So the paralysis he had, the silence he didn't, and then the 10% chance to penetrate, there it is. It was on the 5th skill all along. So they kind of shuffled that around as well.
Talk or I'm gonna start dealing.
He still has the frenzy buff, although they increased it. They actually doubled that damn thing. Goodness gracious. The all attack, all defense went from 25 to 50%, and then the crit rate went from 25% to 40%. So almost double on the crit rate and double on the all attack, all defense. Skill cooldown times did go up slightly on some of the skills, but still looks to be pretty proc friendly. So we'll have to wait and see. And then the other thing with Gambit, it's one of the few characters that has not one, actually I think he's the only character that has more than one V-pad skill. He has a V-pad skill on the 4, no. No, yeah, he's yeah.
I ain't know my daddy, but I'm sure I shot out of his
All right, all right, all right.
ready.
Yeah, I don't think any other character has the 2 V-pad skills. I almost said Luna, but Luna's first skill repositions her, and her second skill is a V-pad. So not kind of the same thing. This guy you can actually control where he's going with 2 different skills. So that's actually dope. With the 1 and the 5, and then the 1 he can cast every 5 seconds, so you can pretty much keep this guy moving almost all the time if you're careful enough. And even when you can't keep him moving, you should be able to cover with invincibility, the all damage immunity, or the heal. So actually dope. Now with Hawkeye, Bullseye, and Gambit's tier 4 skill, for Hawkeye, they need to go back and yeah, this thing ain't done cooking. Increase all attack by 30% for 10 seconds. Acquires the following effect for 10 seconds. When skill regular attacks excluded is used, increase all basic attack by 30% for 90% max effect. 5 seconds. Attack on attack? Nah. Give this dude something. Okay, so we talk a lot about how the damage is calculated in the game and being split amongst different types of damage. Elemental damage, all attack, energy attack, physical attack. It's not so much different. Damage to male types, damage to boss types, right? And the more of the chain, hit, pierce, and the more of these different types of damage that you add together equals the total amount of damage that you do in the end calculation. When you do it like this, attack on attack, it's like saying 1 times 1 versus 1 times 5 different types of damage. That's the difference. Why not give him something different? So yeah, go back, cook this shit up again, and serve it, man. You got raw meat all on the plate. You got undercooked chicken. You handing out all types of E. coli and shit. Do something about this, please. For my man Bullseye, not so bad. When striker skill is used, increase all attack by 50% for 10 seconds, and then increase basic damage dealt to enemies with 50% higher HP by 40% for 10 seconds, and then increase basic damage dealt to enemies with 50% or lower by 60% HP. So basically, when their damage, when their HP is above his HP, he does 50% damage. When their HP is below his HP, he does 60% damage. So his damage kind of ramps in 2 different sort of directions. So one will cut off, but the other one will kick in. So actually pretty dope, kind of creative. And then for my guy, and something we've never seen before in Mad Assassin with Bullseye. And then for my guy Gambit, energy in the cards, they cooked once again. And they gave this guy crit hit on all attacks, increased critical damage by 120%. So he can basically crit over the cap. There is another character with a seasonal uniform that can do the same exact thing. And we all know who she is. And it's my girl Rogue right here, right? She also has the damage accumulation, but she has crit over the cap on her uniform effect, right? 33% chance increase critical damage by 100%. Is essentially the same thing that you're talking about here with Gambit. She also has damage accumulation. There aren't very many characters that have damage accumulation and crit over the cap. The other thing that takes her over the top is her energy utilization passive, which increases all of her buff effects by 20% and the duration of those buffs by 30%, right? Gambit doesn't have that, but what Gambit does have looking like is this whopping 20% increase from 100 to 120%. And then on top of that, his damage accumulation is at 1%, while Rogue's damage accumulation tops out at 0.8%. So even looking at the artifacts, Rogue's 6-star artifact tops out at 15%, right? But then if you take a look at Gambit's artifact here, just to scroll ahead a little bit, his tops out at 20%, and it's the same exact artifact. Increased damage dealt to supervillains, increased damage dealt to alien types, right? So I'm looking at it like he could compete with her, or maybe they're getting ready to do a male mutant day in ABX/ABL, something like that would make perfect sense. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. As far as Baron Zemo and Crossbones go, they're getting the awakening skills this go round. So actually pretty dope. We'll be able to get a hold of this guy's leadership. Pretty much worthless in today's meta. You know, maybe it'll help you with the Shadowland stage or something like that. Dispatch mission Sector 14. Sector 14 AIM research has been added. Okay. As far as the rewards go, looks like we're gonna get some carbonadium as a growth material. It doesn't say much about any other tier 4 material, just carbo. And they list that specifically here. Really wish they had added all 3 tier 4 materials, or maybe they go back into Dispatch 12 and Dispatch 13 and add Life Seed and Soul of the Faltine. Maybe possibly even be able to farm books there, who knows. And then of course we did get a little bit ahead of ourselves, but we do got the exclusive artifact. We got my guy Bullseye here with the 80% chance to increase critical damage by 35% on all attacks, so he gets some increased crit over the cap as well, but it is locked behind his artifact. And then we already touched on my guy Gambit with the supervillain damage and the increased damage dealt to alien characters by 20% respectively. We got Baron Zemo with the increased target dodge rate by 25% and increased all attack by 20%. So not too bad there. Would be good if it applied to all allies. It would make them a little bit better support, because these aren't bad support stats to have. And then we got my guy Cross Bizzle, increase basic all attack by 20% and then increase HP by 20%. Once again, if they'd have made this support artifact, might help him out a little bit. We actually got another up, and this is why I tell you guys, man, if you get an artifact, if you don't have the artifact, equip that artifact on a character. I don't care if it's trash, because what they're doing for Sharon Rogers right here, this is what her artifact currently is sitting on. I have a 4-star version myself right now. It has the increased crit and the increase the increased crit rate and the increased crit damage on there. It is retaining that, and then also getting the increased damage dealt to supervillains on there. So it's actually becoming a really, really good artifact. Make sure you guys equip an artifact on a character if you get that, even if it's trash. We've seen this now for Sharon Rogers, for Deadpool, for Thanos. Yes, Deadpool, Thanos are uber popular. Sharon is kind of Netmarble's baby, but you never know. So at least have you one on the character. Then start re-rolling, trashing them, that sort of thing. Moving right along with the future pass. Looks like we got the Hawkeye special icon in the first tier, and we got my guy Bullseye in the second tier. So nothing really new there, the same as before on everything else. This one here for my guy Gambit, the Goodbye 2024, that's actually dope. I might actually go pick that up, and I don't go out of my way to pick these things up, like hardly ever. You see, I've been rocking my girl Storm for the longest time now. and I actually think I got that one for free. Also, you got some other improvements regarding Exa Swords, where they're adding a filtering system to the auto combine and the auto dismantle to make things a little more easy. So that's gonna actually be a nice quality of life change. And they're also adding some more filters to the Marvel Universe tab right here with the abilities and the elements and the leadership and all of that sort of stuff. So actually pretty dope. And I don't believe that this Combat Blast Speed Universal was up there before. They're also adding Friendly Match to Otherworld Battle. We have this feature in Timeline Battle, so they're adding it to Otherworld. So actually dope. You can go in here and do a friendly match, test some stuff out, see how it works before you start taking L's in Otherworld Battle. They also adding more categories to the content board, changing some of the filtering systems there. So some more quality of life stuff. They're also adding an acquire all button to the quest. So also something pretty dope. This thing right here, the custom gear activation. So they're adding some visual effects. You see these up here in the top left are your custom gears for your CTP of, say, Insight and CTP of Energy, Rage, whatever. The CTP that's on the support character and the CTP that's on the actual character, the damage proc, if you will. They're changing the color so you can see more clearly which are activated from where. If it's not activated at all, it's still going to be gray. Now when they activate, they both turn green. The only thing that I would say that I would add to this is with mighty CTPs and brilliant CTPs, when you fill those up, those also take up a CTP slot, and then there are 3 of these here, of these little icons. One for the charge rate of the CTP's regular proc, one for the CTP of the support character, and then one for the mighty or the brilliant portion of the CTP, right? And when they activate, what's probably gonna happen is both the brilliant portion and the regular portion are both going to be green, and it's still going to be hard to tell which is which, right? So something that I kind of hope that they address prior to, although because if they don't, this could kind of all be for naught in those sort of situations. But really good concept. I love the concept. I think it just needs to be refined slightly. Maybe make a 3rd color for the mighty or brilliant portion of the CTP. Maybe make it purple or red, and then green, and then orange for the other one. I think would solve that problem easily. So yeah, you do have the little bar above your head and the aura that's created, but yeah, it still could be kind of throwing people off under certain circumstances. The image of the equipped custom gear will be displayed on the hero's portrait. So this is actually pretty dope. When the proc goes off, it's gonna show the CTP instead of the actual character. I hope it's not any overlapping or clipping to the energy bar right here, because if that's the case, that could be kind of detrimental under certain circumstances. But yeah, and then some more quality of life stuff as far as bios are concerned and display. Hero names can be searched without spaces. Okay, the same boss at the current boss will not appear when changing today's world boss. This I did want to talk about. So currently, as is, if you were to actually go into world boss and actually change your world boss of the day, and we'll go ahead and do this for shits and giggles, that could easily have popped up as Proxima and Corvus again and say I wanted to actually fight Gene for the feathers today or whatever because I'm farming mutant materials. That could actually pop up the same world boss 3, 4, 5 times in a row. Say you're trying to get off Mephisto and on to a World Boss Legend Plus stage. and you just can't get it. They're changing that. So now you're not gonna get the same exact world boss back to back. So actually a dope change, something that they've been needing to do. I'm glad they're finally getting around to it. And then we got some more quality of life improvements and skill fixes. Adam Warlock's Infinity Countdown, third skill, continuous attack, wasn't working properly in Zombie, and they fixed that. The number of items displayed as not being consumed when performing awakening skill using Odin's Blessing has been fixed. So a lot of other stuff. Overall, I think this update is going to be more of a hit than a miss, although I wish there was more meat on the bone as far as a game mode is concerned. Hopefully they come out at the beginning of the year with a banger update, game mode, something huge. They did talk a lot about that in the dev note in the dev note that they dropped a few days ago. So hopefully they're able to follow up on that. I think Gambit is going to be an absolute beast. I think a lot of people will be happy with that uniform. So I would say go ahead and pick it up for him if you have the character. And then we all know how the value of the seasonal uniforms kind of hold up. And when you compare him to somebody like Rogue, the only thing he's missing is that 20% buff. But they kind of built it into the character, and then on top of that, he has way more hits than Rogue did on average anyway. So I think when you couple all of that together with his tier 4, them having the same exact artifact, with them having the same exact damage accumulation, both being able to do damage over the crit rate cap, I think it's gonna equal out to be kind of the same. And then of course he has this 20% chain hit that I don't think Rogue has in her kit either. I could be mistaken there. Let me check right quick. Yeah, she has 15% chain hit. So like I said, really similar kits. It's almost like they just took Rogue's kit and put it on Gambit, spruced it up a little bit to make up the difference and that sort of thing. He also has a lot of ignore dodge built into his kit that I don't think Rogue necessarily has, although she does have 73% ignore dodge built into her kit, but then he has a 50% ignore dodge leadership. So y'all like, comment, share, sub, let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. Do y'all think Gambit is going to be an absolute beast, or are you going to build him? Do you think the amount of hits in Hawkeye's kit is going to be enough to make up the difference? Do you think that they went far enough with his kit? Do you think they went far enough with Bullseye and the heal? We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.